All right, I'm calling this meeting to order at 4:33 p.m. First off, we'll start with a territorial acknowledgement. I'd like to respectfully acknowledge that the SFSS is located on the traditional unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, including the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Coquitlam, and Katzie nations. Unceded means that these territories have never been handed over, sold, or given up by these nations, and we're currently situated on occupied territories. We're now going to move to roll call of attendance, starting with myself. My name is Zaid Lari. I am the Science Undergraduate Society representative. My pronouns are he, him, his, and my accessibility needs are met, though I am fasting, so I get quite bad dry mouth, so you guys have to bear with me. We might have a lot of talking to do today. Now going down the list, starting with archaeology.
Hi, I'm Claire. I'm the archaeology rep. Pronouns are she, her, and my accessibility needs are met. Thanks.
Thank you. Environment.
Hi, my name is Bradley Sarandi. Pronouns he, him, his, and my accessibility needs are met.
Behavioral neuroscience.
Hi, my name is Arthi Srinivasan. My pronouns are she and her, and all my access needs have been met.
Thank you. Biology. See biology rep present. PPK.
I'm Josh Ham. Pronouns are he, him, his. I do have a final later this evening, so if we start to go over time, I'll have to leave. But aside from that, my accessibility needs are met.
Thank you. Business. See business rep present. Chemistry.
Hi, my name is Wen. Pronouns are she, her, hers, and all my accessibility needs are met. Thanks.
Computer science. See CSSS representative present. Criminology.
Hi, I'm Charlotte, she, her, hers. All my access needs are met, but I also have a final and have to leave at 6.
Data science.
Hi, Michael and Matthew, pronounce he, him, his, and my accessibility needs are met.
Earth science.
Hi, I'm Alex. My pronouns are they, them, and my access needs have been met.
Economics.
Hi, my name is Sandra. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and all my accessibility needs have been met.
Education.
Hi, Adrian, and pronouns are she, her, and all my access needs are being met right now.
Engineering. Yes, ESSS representative present. English.
Hi, my name is Liz. My pronouns are she, they, and all of my access needs are met.
EVSCU.
Hi, my name is Chloe. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and all my access needs are met.
French.
Hi, my name's Kylie. Pronouns she, her, hers, and all of my accessibility needs have been met.
GSWS.
Hey, I'm Devin. She, her, hers pronouns. My accessibility needs are met. Thanks, everyone.
Geography. See geography representative present. History.
My name's Alan, pronouns he, him, his, and my accessibility needs have been met.
Humanities. Indigenous Studies Student Union. It's the ISSU representative present. Interactive Arts and Technology.
Hello, my name is Jeremy Felix, pronouns he, him, and they, them, and all my accessibility needs have been met.
Thank you. International Studies.
Hi everyone, my name is Aaliyah. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I keep on getting the internet unstable message, so my Wi-Fi might be cutting in and out, but other than that, all my access needs are met.
Thank you. Labor Studies. See Labor Studies representative present. Linguistics. Math. Mechatronics.
Hi, my name is Kimia, she, her, and all my access needs are met.
MBBSU.
Hi, my name is Kyle, go by he, him, and all my needs are met.
Operations Research.
Hi, my name is Ash, pronouns are he, him, his, and all my access needs have been met.
Philosophy.
Hi, my name is Tony, he, him, his, all my access needs are met. I will have to leave early at 5:30 though.
Thank you. Physics. PSSU.
Hi everyone, my name is Helen. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and all my access needs are met. Thank you.
Psychology.
Hi everyone, my name is Tiffany. I use she, they pronouns, and all my access needs are met. Thank you.
Thank you. Society of Arts and Social Sciences.
Hi, my name is Akam. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and all my access needs are met.
Sociology and Anthropology.
Hi, my name is Kayla. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and all my accessibility needs have met.
Thank you. Software Systems.
Hi, my name is Mehak. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and all my accessibility needs are met.
Thank you. Sustainable Energy Engineering Student Society.
Hi, my name is Nathan, she, her, and all my accessibility needs have been met.
World Literature.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah. Pronouns she, her, hers, and all my accessibility needs are met. Thank you.
Disability and Neurodiversity Alliance.
Hi, my name is Serena. My pronouns are she, they. For accessibility needs, my internet is always unstable, so if it disconnects, I will reconnect. Also, I'm feeling unusually cold today, so I might be stuttering more than normal. So just let me know if you need me to say something again.
Thank you. FNSA. Is the FNSA representative present? SOCA. Women's Center Collective.
Hi, my name is Nisha. I use she, her, her pronouns, and my access needs are not met.
Thank you. All right, just checking quorum again there. Just moving on to the Board of Directors, starting with the President.
Hi, everyone. My name is Asab. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and all my access needs are met. Thanks.
Thank you. VP Finance.
Hi, I'm Corbett. Pronouns are he, him, his, and all my access needs are met. Thank you.
Thank you. VP Student Services.
Hey, it's Matt. My pronouns are he, him, his. My accessibility needs, I'm on my phone right now and it might die. So I'll be home pretty quick and I'll reconnect. So thanks.
All right, thank you. VP Student Life.
Hey, I'm Jennifer. I use she, her pronouns, and I might be eating dinner right now.
VP University.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gabe. My pronouns are he, him, his, and my access needs are met.
Thank you. Either of our at-large representatives here.
I'm here, Bilqis.
Can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, my name is Bilqis. I go by she, her, and hers. My access needs are met.
Awesome. We'll go through our faculty representatives now. Just trying to see who's here. I believe it's our faculty representative for science.
Hey everyone, my name is Hui Chun. My pronouns are he, him, his, and my access needs are currently met.
Thank you. All right. Moving on, we're now on to item 4, adoption of the agenda. 4.1, be it resolved to adopt the agenda as presented. Would anyone like to move this motion?
MBBSU moves.
MBBSU moves. Would anyone like to second?
Just 3 seconds.
Just 3 seconds. Is there any discussion? I'm going to move to amend the agenda to include a section titled Ratification of Regrets, just above matters arising from the minutes, which will contain the following motion. Be it resolved to ratify regrets from Stephanie Chung and Ryan Stoles. Would anyone like to second this amendment?
MBBSU seconds.
MBBSU moves. Would anyone like to second? Oh, we don't need another seconder. MBBSU seconds. Is there any discussion on this amendment? Seeing no discussion, going to move to vote. I'm going to seek unanimous consent. Seek unanimous consent. If you'd like to dissent, please unmute yourself and object now. Seeing no objections, this amendment carries unanimously. We're now back to the main motion. Be it resolved to adopt the agenda as amended. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll now move to vote. Once again, seek unanimous consent. If you'd like to dissent, please unmute your microphone now. Seeing no objections, this motion carries unanimously. Moving on to the section that I just added, ratification of regrets. Motion reads, be it resolved to ratify regrets from Stephanie Chung and Ryan Stoles. Would anyone like to move this motion?
Economics move.
Economics moves. MBB, would you like to second?
MBB seconds.
MBBSU seconds. Is there any discussion? Don't think so. Move to vote. Once again, seeking unanimous consent. If you'd like to dissent, please unmute your microphone now. Seeing no objections, this motion carries unanimously. We're now on to item 5, matters arising from the minutes. 5.1, motion reads, be it resolved to receive and file the following minutes. Council, March 31st, 2021. Anyone like to move this motion?
MBBSU moves.
MBBSU moves. Would anyone like to second?
World Literature seconds.
World Literature seconds. Is there any discussion on this motion? Seeing no discussion, we'll once again move to vote. Seeking unanimous consent. If you'd like to dissent, please object now. Seeing no objections, this motion carries unanimously. Now on to item 6, reports from the liaisons. 6.1, starting with the council liaison. Don't believe Ryan is here. Kayla? Seems she might not be here at the moment. We'll move on to the board liaison. Jennifer, you have the floor.
Awesome. Thanks, Zaid. I'm going to link the document in the chat right now. Unfortunately, this report only has like 3 memes. I was very tired because we had a lot of amendments. Actually, let me share my screen. That might be easier. Can everybody see that? Okay. Cool. Basically, these are the important points I'll go over right now for the sake of time, but this document is 14 pages, so you can just read through what we discussed. So we passed a motion to set up the scholarship to support refugees and Black students, which would cover tuition and mandatory student fees. For more details about SFU World University Services of Canada, you can go to the link that's in the document. And you can click this link up here to jump down to the full discussion that occurred. And then we also passed a motion to allocate space for a multi-faith prayer room in the Student Union building because there was a demonstrated need from a large proportion of the student population, students of faith. Currently, the prayer space is inadequate and inaccessible. You can see the briefing note that I prepared here, and then you can see all the pictures of the room. And more discussion can be found if you click on the bookmark and it just jumps down on the document. And that's all for my report.
Thank you, Jennifer. We're now going to move on to reports from the board executive directors. 7.1 VP University.
Thanks, Zaid. I'll jump right into it because there is a lot that I have to report on, so I don't want to go over the 5-minute limit. But on the university relations front, the University and Academic Affairs has been busy working on a number of projects, but also looking to wind down as the year, as the elected term is coming to a close at the end of April. 2 of our committee members, our environment representative and one of our student at-larges, is working on a proposal to bring forward to the SFU Senate regarding a more lenient approach to sick notes for missing exams or classes. And we're actually bringing this idea forward directly to the university administration tomorrow in a meeting that the president and I are attending. The president and I have also been setting up meetings with Burnaby City councillors to advocate on behalf of the Burnaby Mountain Gondola project. And we're very optimistic that we're making progress and are looking forward to continue having these discussions with City Council and the community. Our VP Student Services, Matthew, is leading a new working group called the Student Wellness Working Group that is looking toward more tangible ways to bring accessible and effective resources for students to help students out during this time, whether that be, mental, financial support. And I've been attending these meetings and I've really been enjoying them, and I'm looking forward to hopefully this group is one that continues into the next year and I can continue attending those meetings as well. I've also been working with our president, VP Student Services, and incoming Equity and Sustainability VP to continue pushing for proper consultation and equity in the varsity team name change process. We've met twice now with the director of the athletics department, and we're really trying to push for consultation to be done with SOCA and FNSA before any team name change is chosen, and that this consultation is done in a way that is respectful and considerate of the emotional labor that marginalized folks are going through right now in regards to the name change. As incoming president, I was invited by the Chief Safety Officer of SFU to be a member of a new group called Community Engagement on Personal Safety Steering Committee that's looking at redesigning the policies that exist governing campus public safety right now. And during and outside of these meetings, I've been pushing heavily to make sure that consultation of marginalized communities is the forefront of this entire process. And that these voices are actively represented at the steering committee table, not just in consultation, and that folks be compensated accordingly for the emotional labor that they're putting in. And lastly, on the university relations side, the president and I continue to attend the Joint Operations Group, and our main points of discussion at these meetings has been around the fall return to campus and what that's going to look like, and ensuring that it's done in a way that doesn't put our students at any unnecessary risk. We also continue to push for the release of the full McKay report following the December 11th arrest, rather than relying on the 3-page inadequate summary that was released a few weeks ago. Turning to governance, a few months ago, the board passed a motion to task the governance committee to create further SFSS issues policies. And since then, board members have been working collaboratively to bring forward these new policies into existence. These policies have been drafted and are going to the board for a vote on Friday. And I would highly recommend everyone take a look at these policies as they are very monumental in ensuring that the SFSS is always taking an equitable and intersectional lens to our governance and other practices. I'll send a link to that after my report. From the Transition Steering Committee, the Training and Communications Working Group has been meeting consistently to continue ironing out what our training is going to look like for incoming counselors. And we have a really solid understanding of what format this is going to take place in and what topics are going to be covered. The Governance Working Group has completed its review of the board policies in order to transform them into council policies, as well as other administrative and society policies. I'm also recommending folks try and take a look at those when you have time. There is also a briefing note that summarizes at a high level the changes that were made. I'll be sending that as well. And a couple of lingering things. I've been attending negotiations of our collective agreement with our union that represents our staff. I also serve as a chair of a working group that's looking at ways to open the student union building in fall of 2021 in a way that's safe for our students, staff, and community members. I'm the chair of a hiring committee for a new staff position that we have within the SFSS called the Student Advocacy Coordinator, and we're making good progress there, and we should be done within the next week or two. And lastly, I've also been in close contact with our incoming VP University and Academic Affairs, our own counselor, Serena Baines, and her and I continue to attend meetings together and engage in discussions around the transition. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabe. VP Student Life.
Hello, it's me again. So I've been working on quite a few things. I might link a bunch of things in the chat, but I'll start with my committees first. So the Accessibility Committee, I've been working on some stuff with the Accessibility Assistant. So we've been working on some accessibility supplies in the Student Union building, and also working on an accessibility audit survey, which should be sent out to all students hopefully next week. For SFSS events, we've been working on some giveaways. If you check out the SFSS_events Instagram, you can see them. There's all sorts of fun stuff on there, like a study tips one, study snacks one. We're posting one about sustainability for Earth Day tomorrow. We're also hosting a disability awareness workshop with Creating Accessible Neighborhoods on May 28th, next month. And actually, I have all the links here. You can see all my meeting notes and all my reports and stuff. I've also been working on typing up guides and post-event reports and stuff to ensure a transition goes well. I've been meeting with my successor, Jess, just to let her know what's up with this role. And lastly, I've also been working on a memorandum of understanding for the Gamers Lounge in the Student Union building. So I've been talking to SFU Esports about that. I think that's it.
Thank you. All right, we're now moving on to our new business. Item 8.1, the motion reads, whereas the SFSS VP Finance presented to Council a stipend proposal at its March 17th meeting, whereas councilors have released a document outlining concerns with the proposal titled SFSS Stipend Increase, Points of Concern, whereas the document provides the following recommendations. One, that the board consider the stipend increases for executives and counselors in separate proposals and motions. Two, that the board consider the revised living wage model for executive stipends. Three, that council consider the living wage and redistribution models for counselor stipends. Four, that current directors who have been reelected to the board immediately declare conflict of interest and refrain from discussing or voting on the proposal. Five, that the board of directors commit to designing a robust accountability system for both counselors and executives. Be it resolved that council supports the recommendations detailed on pages 9 and 10 of the document, SFSS stipend increase, points of concern. Would anyone like to move this motion?
MBBSU moves.
MBBSU moves. Would anyone like to second?
History seconds.
History seconds. So just a reminder before we get into discussion here, I'm going to be limiting discussion to 40 minutes on this by default. And again, 2 minutes per speaker so that we can get a wide range of voices in here. Alan submitted this motion, right? Yeah, okay, so you can have a first chance in discussion here. Sorry, but yeah, if anyone who wants to speak on this, please do list yourself in the chat.
Okay, thanks, Zaid. Hi everyone. I hope you've taken the time to look over this document. It outlines the concerns many of us have surrounding the stipend proposal and is the result of collaboration between counselors and DSU executives. To quickly summarize some of the main points of concern, not enough consultation has been done with the student body. There hasn't been enough time or opportunity for revisions, and the recent survey results are not available. The VP Finance has not shown us this year's revenue and expenses for the society, yet claims there is a surplus. He has not created a budget forecast for next year where we'll be in person, which will increase costs greatly. Remuneration for both the executives and the counselors should not be in one single proposal or motion by the board. I think both positions are vastly different in responsibilities and commitment. I think that's the case generally. There is no evidence that any member of the board is working anywhere near to the 60 hours of biweekly claimed. And according to the work reports, board members are on average working 33 hours and making $26.50 an hour. With the council becoming the board of directors and counselors increasing their involvement with the work of the society needs to be distributed across a larger body, and there will be less of a commitment needed from execs. Sixth point would be board members have a perceived conflict of interest according to their own board policies, as those re-elected will benefit directly from the pay increase, regardless of whether a Societies Act does not agree with the board policies. Board members should declare their personal interest and abstain as a good show of faith. And due to the decrease in commitment required, and in order to achieve a raise, board members should
Thank you, Alan.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Right. Next up, Devin, you have the floor.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of you saw my large message in the Discord, so I'll try to keep it short as I've taken up a lot of time and just reading that. But I guess my main concern is coming off this assumption that execs will work less hours. And I'm wondering where that is coming from, because my understanding of the transition is not that execs will work more hours, just that the distribution of work will be different. So execs can focus on other and building the SFSS instead of just like us all trying to keep afloat all the time. So I'm wondering where that's coming from. I think it's harmful to take away hours on this basis that they work less hours. Further, in regard to working reports, I agree that they need to be more accountable, and hours need to be accountable for everyone, not just execs, but also counselors. But a huge decrease in hours based on these reports that previously had really no standing, I think is really damaging. I think it's damaging to say the execs don't work their hours with little evidence that they don't, because from what I've seen, and the execs do work and do the work that they need to do. So I guess that's just my opinion and concern regarding this. I think there's a lot of assumptions being made, which is important to address within these this new proposed hours.
Oh, I muted myself. All right, thank you. Alia, you have the floor.
Thank you. And I also just want to say thank you to Devin for her extensive notes that I really agree with, and I really like how it laid everything out for me, made everything really simple for me to read. But while I did get a chance to look at the document previously that Alan drafted, and there are many points that like I personally disagree with and that I don't see as being completely factual. I think that if anything, we would have to set aside extensive time in future meetings to draft a document that we see as all encompassing and being something that majority of counselors agree with, when we already know based on discussions we've seen in the council Discord and discussions we have at previous meetings that this is not a clear-cut issue and we don't have a clear majority of what side people are going to be on. in addition to this, and I think my next 2 points kind of tie into each other, counselors have been given many opportunities to be involved in this transition process. And I do say this while recognizing that I personally haven't been super involved due to my own time constraints. But I just thought I should mention this. We've been giving many opportunities to be involved in the transition process. And now when it comes to the time that, you know, the transition is kind of underway, and we're still discussing accountability mechanisms, which once again, we've discussed extensively. I just don't see how we hope to make a more accountable, well, since we're going to be the board next year, a more accountable board and more accountable council when it seems to me that already many counselors who plan on being reelected or have already been reelected aren't necessarily fully stepping up. And once again, this is me saying this as someone who hasn't been reelected and who hasn't been able to fully commit to this position by being involved in committees and such because of my co-op this semester, but I just thought I would mention that.
Thank you. Sirna, you have the floor.
Thanks. I agree with what's been said for the most part. My main problem with the document is that the recommendation made is that council should have the opportunity to be considered for the living wage model where board shouldn't be able to. And I just want to read off the definition of a living wage. So living wage refers to the income level that allows for an individual or family to afford adequate shelter, food, or other basic necessities. The goal of a living wage is to allow employees to earn enough income for a satisfactory standard of living and to prevent them from falling into poverty. So when you give the counselors the option of earning a living wage, but not the board, what you're basically saying is that they don't deserve to have a living wage. They don't deserve to have a financial security to be able to pay for their basic necessities. You're devaluing their labor and inflating the value of counselors' labor when what we have seen so far is that the board does a lot more work than counselors. And although there'll be a transition to council being the legal body, I think it's important to recognize that our labor is equal and not to be disingenuous about, oh, because we're counselors, we're going to make sure that our labor is important, but we're going to devalue the labor of others, especially when they're helping us with this transition. I think it's really important to recognize that a living wage is necessary for all folks and that you shouldn't be devaluing or making moral valuations of other people's labor.
All right, thank you. Alan, you have a direct response.
Yeah, in no way am I trying to offend any sensibilities around the value of labor. I just wanted to essentially recommend some changes in result to what I saw in the remuneration proposal. Now, I just want to keep them separate just because they're far different entities. I'm not saying board doesn't deserve a living wage. I'm just saying the two motion, should be separate motions. And, there's also the other thing that counselors will be taking on more duties. I believe that's, 10 hours weekly. Sorry, I did not sleep good last night. But anyways, I just want to say, I'm not trying to do that. And I just think it should be separated. That's all. I'm not trying to argue against the value of people's labor. I'm just saying that there's been a discrepancy when looking at the board reports and then what's suggested in a remuneration proposal and what's been said. That's all.
All right, thank you, Alan. Wei Chun, you have the floor.
Yeah, my main concern is that this proposal is based off the work reports. And just to note that the work report does not always reflect all the works and hours that we put into the SFSS. It is just meant to be a first summary and to show students what we are working on and what projects we're doing and the progress of it. But it's not meant to be a document where you just look at, and this is like exactly how much we work. because we don't record replying to emails, we don't record preparing for meetings, preparing for doing research for projects, right? Writing briefing notes, since all that is not recorded, and nor should it be recorded, because even in a normal job where you work, no one is going to police every hour of the work you do. People care about the progress, the report that you put out, and the projects that you're working on, right? Those are the important things to show, and not the work hours, right? And it's not proper reflect. So if by saying, based off the work reports, like that people should be paid this much, it's not realistic, because again, you can't realistically record everything that board of directors do every day, right? Every hour, like just any job. Which job have you been working at that makes you do that, right? So it's more important to look at progress and projects and reports that the directors put out. So I just want to mention that point.
Thank you, Wei-Chan. Kyle, you have a direct response.
Yeah, thank you, Zaid. So you say work reports aren't supposed to be extensive, and that's fine, but we've gone through the work reports. They aren't even they are missing a lot of their due diligence. And also, to couple with the fact of the matter is that you guys are basing the entire living wage model, the fact that you work 60 hours. If you're saying that you're not reporting 60 hours, how are you making up those numbers? We as a student body only have those work reports to go off and to find validity in the amount of hours that are being worked or whatnot, and what is being worked on. And yes, you said we do go through them and we do look at the projects, but if you don't list off the hours, we don't know what you're doing. We can't just assume that you guys are working 60 hours worth of time, just like we can't assume that you're working no hours during the bi-weekly period. The work reports are a give and take thing. And fine, if you want to exclude them entirely, then you have to answer the question, where did these 60 hours come from? Did you just make them up as to go along with this sort of like, to make it so the amount of money you get is like working towards it? Because it makes no sense. That's a big issue. The work reports don't match up with anything that you're proposing.
All right, thank you, Kyle. Alan, you have a direct response?
Yeah, just going off of Wei-Chan's response. Yeah, I understand that all your work might not be cataloged. It's ambiguous for me, right? Like what Kyle said, we're sort of working off of these reports to sort of justify a professional living wage. We have to essentially, with this, if we accept sort of work without those work reports, it has to be on a basis of trust, if not some sort of political fidelity or honor system. There's jobs I have worked where there is actually intense review and inspection of the work you've done, and those are minimum wage jobs. I've worked at Cineplex, for example. I had to do cleanings and stuff, and there was always a supervisor, and I had to log my hours every 15 minutes of what I was doing if I was doing cleanings, because of legal liabilities there. I'm just saying, we want to have sort of the precedent to sort of justify such a huge increase. Like this is a major proposal. This will change quite a bit. It's a huge system coming in. So yeah, that's just my thoughts on that.
All right, thank you. Matt, you have the floor.
Perfect, thank you. Is everyone able to hear me? My mic's been kind of weird today. Good? Okay, so this is a direct reply, I guess, to Kyle, and also, sorry, what's your name? Alan? Yeah, so there's a couple things. It's actually really funny, Kyle, when after you brought up, kind of our work reports, I was looking at, it's like, yeah, I don't really add up my hours at the end of my work report. So I'm not gonna lie, sometimes my work reports aren't that in-depth, and that's something, that you've addressed. So I've been trying to make it a little bit more in-depth so that the current ones that you see like might kind of encompass what I'm doing. But actually the last work report that I just did, I added up my hours, actually 2 weeks, it came up to around 76 hours. And then also looking at the kind of work that we're doing, just to like encompass, if you don't have an understanding from the work report, like I've always said, you can email me. My email is online, you can reach out and just to get more in depth. And even the prior work report, I think it was over 60 hours within 2 weeks from what I added up. And that's only including my meetings and the projects that I've been working on. That's not encompassing, like Wei Chin kind of overviewed with, the emails that I'm doing, or, even sitting in some DSU groups or constituency group meetings, or outside of that on weekends. Like I remember, working on the issues policy. I know I was up till 3 a.m. 3 days in a row for a couple of days because I also have classes. So, my hours are precarious. And this is just talking from my experience as well. And just kind of to address like some of your concerns, like if I honestly did fill out my work report to the detail that you want, I'm sure it would probably be around 80 hours. And maybe even earlier this year, like I'm not gonna lie, it's not as extensive. Maybe it should have been, and maybe for next year, I'll make sure to do that so there's not those concerns. But just from like what I'm looking at, even like the work that we're doing, I know Gabe was working on the policies, and I was also working on policies, drafting policies and looking at that work. And if you're looking at consultant fees or people who actually do policy work as their job outside of this, they're getting paid $45 an hour to draft policies, just to review, fees to make sure that they're, the jargon's good, they make sense, they're clear, but we're doing that at a rate that is underpaid for what we're doing. So just wanted to clarify some of that. But moving forward, I'll make sure that they're more extensive to what you need and the detail, and I'll make sure as well for my hours that is.
All right, thank you. Gabe, you have a direct response.
Thanks, Zaid. Yeah, this is a direct response to what Kyle was saying a few moments ago. And I just want to say the fact of the matter is most of our executives on a pretty consistent basis do 60 hours of work or more. However, you are using work reports as a source of data when it is not really an accurate or appropriate source of data to be determining whether or not people have reached 60 hours. And I really just want to emphasize here that I still think there's a massive misunderstanding about the origins and the purpose of work reports. And I know Asif has said this multiple times at meetings before, but work reports were never meant to serve as a timesheet. They were simply meant to serve as a document that students could refer to get a general idea of the work that their elected representatives were engaging in. To be frank, work reports weren't even taken seriously by board members until this year. If you look at board reports from 2019, they're literally, I'm not exaggerating, empty. And the concept of work reports has morphed over this past year. And as this board has fought to try and be more transparent with students. And so, what I just want to emphasize here is that I think you're using this past year's work reports to determine the amount of hours that this board has put in, when that really, I think these work reports grossly misrepresent the actual amount of work we put in, because there was never that expectation that work report served as a timesheet. And honestly, if that's what council wants us to do, if they want us to write down every single minute of everything that we do during our day in our positions, then so be it. I think council should pass a resolution dictating such when they become the legal board of directors on May 1st. But I cannot tell you how many late nights I've spent on phone calls with students, how many times how much time I've spent answering emails, how many late nights I've had working on policies or writing up a report or preparing for meetings, because there was never an expectation that be put in work reports.
Thank you, Gabe. We're gonna have to move on here. Let me just check. Tony, you have the floor.
Yeah, thanks, Zaid. For me, at least personally, I believe in a living wage, and I think that councillors and execs should expect a living wage. I have no doubt that the current board and assumably the next board will do good work, because I know people personally like Jen and Poom and Samad. I know them personally, and I know they put in good work for what they do. I guess I guess for me, it's that there's just seems to be an issue in terms of regarding keeping things accountable, having a good system in place where we can keep track of the work work done. Because I've been here for like 4 years now, and there have been good board members, there have been bad board members. There have been good years, bad years, where some years, a lot of board members don't even do any work. That's not to say that this is what the current board is like, but I'm just saying that we want to have a system in place where we can keep things accountable and keep things transparent, because and it's not a concern or a point of caution for the next upcoming board, but just the board as an entity in general, because we're not gonna always have the same people. We'll have future people, and they might be different. They might work differently. They might put in less hours, or they might put in more hours. And I think that the main point, I think that will keep everyone happy, is just having that good accountability system in place, which we need to figure out fairly soon, I think.
Thank you, Tony. Asab, you have the floor.
Thank you. So I'd like to speak specifically to the conflict of interest piece, as I know that that's kind of been a topic of contention, and I'd like to share a few things about conflict of interest. And I know that there was a citation of the board policies as well. First of all, the Societies Act supersedes the board policies. I don't see a conflict in the board policies with what the Society Act says, but conflict of interest is outlined very clearly in that, if a board member or in the future a counselor is not uniquely benefiting from a contract, then it can't be considered a conflict of interest. And that also cannot be applied to the director stipend or remuneration proposal, as there is no unique benefit to one individual. For instance, signing a contract for your own company to host an event for the SFSS and then paying that same company that you own, for instance. Another piece around that is that I know there was a recommendation for board members to abstain. A perceived conflict of interest is not the same as a real conflict of interest. And while you can make that recommendation, you cannot tell duly elected board members how to vote. They can choose to accept your recommendation or not. Another big piece is that I'm very worried about the misleading information that's being shared without a proper legal interpretation, as that can influence folks who maybe do not have the same access to information regarding the Societies Act. And I'd like to be very clear that this is not a conflict of interest issue. If you have any further issues, I would recommend that you check out the Societies Act and go to the director's conflict and interest piece. I think it's section 56.5. And also if it comes down to it and council wants to use some of their fees to actually get a legal opinion, that works as well. But I do strongly recommend that before we have these conversations, that we make sure that we know what we're talking about. For instance, on November 18th last year, council voted on a motion to approve gift cards for councillors to get in council appreciation. This same conversation around conflict of interest still wouldn't apply there, even though there is a financial gain to be made by councillors, because there isn't a unique benefit. This is a very, very similar concept that was not applied then, is being applied now. And I think that councillors need to think about what is really a perceived conflict of interest or a real conflict of interest in this regard.
All right, thank you, Asab. Corbett, you have the floor.
Hi, excuse me. So thank you. I'll talk a bit more about some of the other parts of the motion related to the belief that these two items should be split, because the role of a counselor and the role of an executive are very different. The problem is that's not, well, there are some aspects that are true, but not the whole thing. So remember, council will be the board of directors, and council is not made up of counselors and executives. It's made up of all of us are counselors, including executives. It's non-executives, and executives are part of council as a whole. So we all have the same base legal responsibilities as board of directors, as laid out in our bylaws, as well as the Societies Act. Executive members of the executive committee or executives have additional responsibilities as laid out in our bylaws and as officers of the organization as laid out in the Societies Act. The point of the proposal was changing the way the board of directors is the model for remuneration. The idea being that we need to have a new base level where everybody, regardless of if you are a non-executive or an executive, you get your remuneration will be at a level that's the living wage amount. For budgeting reasons, like the reason why it's broken down per hour is partially for budgetary reasons, and also as some basic level of expectation of work, of average work. So the So this proposal is, again, it's for changing the way we as an organization remunerate our student leaders. And the only main difference between amounts is basis on expected amounts of work based on additional responsibilities. That's why vice chair gets a little bit more expected hours, because there will be additional work expected from them due to being the nature of being a chair for a body of potentially up to 50 people.
Thank you, Corbett.
Thank you.
Kyle, you have the floor.
Thank you, Zay. So I'd just like to go on, since I still think that's the worthwhile thing. You guys produce some anecdotes about how your work reports are fine, but that still doesn't answer the main question. If work reports are not a showcase of how to the student body of how hours are spent and hours are done, where does this 60 hours the executives are working bi-weekly come from? Where is this 10 hours that counselors will be working come from? You guys haven't really explained that. If your work reports, which are the only thing student body has to look at hours of work, is showing less than 60 hours, how can you explain and justify that executives are actually have been and will be working 60 hours on a bi-weekly basis, up or down, since the basis of one of the models is on an hourly wage, especially.
Thank you, Kyle. Alan, you have the floor.
Okay. Not sure where I listed myself again, but I guess I'll just speak on to that point again about that. Yeah, those hours, they are, once again, I have to concur with, I will concur with Matt about the 2019 board. We have no idea if they were actually reaching 30 hours. We can make that assumption, but the problem is we can also do that with the current board, because, if you go off the actual sheets where we average the hours from, the work reports given us, we don't have anything to sort of justify those, those hours. But yeah, one thing that before this actual, the change in bylaws and everything, boards sort of made their own hours. They had the option to make their own hours. They also get lots of perks and everything, I guess. The executives is like a position with a lot of cushy privileges, and those differentials they're making it very different than what a counselor would have, right? But yeah, I just want to say different roles, and also you get different leeways as well. There's leniency provided.
All right, thank you, Alan. Also, do you have a direct response?
Thank you. My direct response was actually with regard to Kyle's point, and I guess Alan's point as well. I feel like this has kind of come up a few times, but I'll kind of reiterate my points around the work reports. Those are the 60 hours are outlined in policies, and work reports are also kind of separate, and they are there to outline events and advocacy and other things so that students can kind of know what we're up to. However, I really want you folks to consider, where do you see the best use of time for your executives and counselors in the future? Is it going to be filling out work reports like we work at Amazon, and that, every second that we're working on something or have my email open is accounted for, and that, I get scheduled off for 15-minute breaks or a 30-minute lunch break? This is not, I don't think it's fair to say that, we know executives are not working 60 hours because our work reports don't say it, but then on the same time kind of discount when we speak on, the fact that there's after-hour work going on, there's weekend work going on. There are times where, I'm checking my email while I'm in the car on the way to somewhere or on the bus. Like, these are things that aren't accounted for necessarily in a work reports. And I know from my own experience, when I kind of calculate administrative hours, I tend to go on the more conservative side because I don't want it to come off as I'm bolstering hours that I'm not working. That's absolutely the last thing I would want to do. I want it to be a fairly accurate representation of what I'm doing. However, it is, I think, a pretty severe or a pretty big underrepresentation of the work that's going in. So if council thinks that student reps are better suited to actually fill out timesheets, et cetera, rather than actually doing advocacy work, attending meetings and working on projects, then just let us know. And then if that works out for the council in the future, I'm happy to hear it. But in my experience, I don't see work reports as, the be all end all. I think they're important. I think it's important to communicate with folks what you're working on. However, to what extent are we talking about this? Also, the Council Oversight Committee, to my understanding, hasn't been active this year, but that's something that really needs to be revamped and active, and that's a responsibility for councilors to take on. That's going to be a big piece, but we haven't really seen that happening. So I think it's also unfair to, come with this list of concerns when the accountability measures that council is responsible for putting in place have not been in place.
Thank you, Asab. Nisha, you have a direct response.
Yeah, I just wanted to say a little something about how we know that council is working these hours. I think a few people in the comments and just verbally have said that they've been working these amount of hours, and it's remote work. So I guess we have to take their word for it. And I agree that work reports don't account for 5-minute increments or 10-minute increments here and there on the weekends or in the evenings. But the way that I've done things at remotely during co-op is I've worked a set amount of hours a week. I tell my employer and she believes me, she trusts me because she hired me for this job, and the people here were appointed to these positions, and I think that they deserve our trust. When they say they've worked these amount of hours, we should take them at their word because there isn't any reason that we shouldn't. So.
Thank you. Balkis.
Yeah, thanks, Aid. So I'm grateful for the chance to have the conversation today. I also want to say thanks to council for being involved in the counselors who were at capacity to and volunteered to be pretty hands-on with the consultation process going on since at least March, I believe, as well as thank you for the folks who put together the document for today for putting in that labor, that proposal. I strongly disagree with it, but I am happy with the spirit of accountability. And I do invite you to help with the transition committee as well. So I think a lot of the points were already addressed about legally, this is not a conflict of interest, so definitely be careful of how you use that legal term. I guess I want to share a bit more about my personal experience. I am an at-large representative, which means I'm not an exec. I am expected to do 30 hours, not 60 like the execs are, which I consistently have been doing 30 and more, which is reflected in my work reports, even in, I think, majority of the timesheet, like the SFSS work reports, but even in the now, analyzed timesheet put together by some of the counselors today. I want to highlight that student union work is very fluid. And something also worth noting is that the execs particularly are very burnt out. And I think for the sustainability of the student union, it's in the best interest of council to increase the wage or the stipend. It's not a wage, it's a stipend for the labor that's being put in. Plenty of amazing people with community building and organizing skills and experience would be such an asset to the SFSS, and don't get involved simply because they literally cannot afford to get involved. They need to work to make ends meet. So this is just one way of increasing equity and accessibility of the SFSS in a very systemic way, is pay people for their labor. This is especially going to help out low income and marginalized students, so definitely worth doing to get everyone involved. And also one thing for the future is that there are issues policies that were drafted about living wage and union rights.
Balkis.
Can I finish the sentence? Ideally, everyone will be paid in the SFSS a living wage, but that's all. Thank you.
All right. Tiffany.
Thank you, Zaid. My screen just showed my internet connection is unstable, so if I do cut out, please let me know. But I wanted to just mention a few points that have been addressed by Jess and Jennifer, who said that they were doing work around the clock, responding to students, even responding to student inquiries on Reddit and Facebook. And I think a big issue of why it's difficult to log every single bit of what they're doing is also because these members work on many different platforms to accommodate and also be able to communicate with other students. And it would be very difficult to log everything on every single platform, unlike some companies who use one major platform to encompass all of their work. So I do think that if we wanted to do that, while it is great for accountability, it is also a huge chunk of their time that they could have spent on other more important aspects of work. And yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Devin, you have the floor.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask directly to Alan regarding the revised living wage model. And I guess this is also a question for the execs who are moving on and continuing to be execs regarding where that decrease in hours is coming from for VPs to be 40 and the president to be 48. I just was hoping I could get more insight to where Alan's coming from in that decrease of hours, but also more insight from execs about where they see that they're going to their hours are going to change and what other jobs and other positions are going to kind of open up and how we're going to see that in the new transition, because I think there's a lot of miscommunication about the work that everyone is doing after May 1st.
Thank you. All right, Kyle, you have the floor, or Corbett, you have a direct response.
Yeah, I was answering Devin's questions as an exec moving on to this next board, where I expect to see my work. It's because my role is going to be brand new, VP internal and organizational development. It's going to be a mixture. It's going to be quite a bit of work to build up this new role into all the different areas that it should be doing. I'll be focused on initially working with council and other our student unions to fill seats that didn't get filled because elections didn't happen in the right time. So for by-elections, I'm already working with staff on that, just trying to prep a bit. A lot of it is also going to be related to looking at the SFSS internally to try to find areas for more efficiency improvements, new software, new processes and policies. I'm the chair of the governance committee, so I'll be reviewing all our, spending the year reviewing all our policies through the governance committee. It's an annual thing, and many other committees will also have policies they have to review throughout the whole year. There's be a bunch of other areas. If you look at my work reports, a lot of my projects, many of them have been related under organizational development. So there is some level of overlap to my current position because finance is tied into everything. So I look forward to continuing a lot of those projects or expanding on them, like making more trackers, making more, basically everything I can to make this best more effective. Thank you.
Thank you, Corbett. Kyle, you have the floor.
Thank you. So I'd like to touch on some good points that also have Balkis brought up. Like also, you're right. There is no accountability going on. So that begs the question, how are we going to develop that? That's still a very unanswered question, because you're expecting counselors and you're expecting the new team to completely change and revitalize and update this new system as well. All the while, you've already made the change to the wages and increased them before. And regarding Balkis about how student unions and whatnot, how our positions are somehow special because we get a stipend. I know on paper it's due to legal liability, but then that begs the question, why can't we divert some of this funding towards funding like the student union presidents, towards providing them some compensation? They do I'm going to be straight up, they do a lot more than us in terms of actually facing and representing the students and providing services to the student body. Why do we not try and look at how can we get them into some conversation, make it so their positions are and are not restricted by financial needs or whatnot. There are a lot of other ways than just shoving a whole bunch of money into counselors, especially before we have these accountability measures set up and provided for.
Thank you, Kyle. Alan, or we did Corbett's. Alan, you can have your direct response.
Yeah, about the 48 hours and the other supposed work hours there. That was just based off of the averaging that we did from the work reports, and also under the assumption that the hours will increase, the duties for counselors will increase to help take off the load of work when they become when we become part of the board next term. Yeah.
All right, thank you. All right, it looks like we've exhausted the 40-minute discussion time on this. If you guys would like to continue speaking on this motion, somebody can move to, I guess, expand or to extend our speaking time on this. Otherwise, we're going to end up moving to voting. So, anyone like to move? Give it a few moments.
DNA moves. Just to finish out the list, I think we should listen to everyone who's still listed.
So you would like to move to extend speaking time by, sorry, you're muted.
Sorry, let's do 15 minutes.
All right, so would anyone like to second this motion?
Psychology seconds.
Psychology seconds. All right, I'm going to seek unanimous consent on this. Once again, seek unanimous consent. If you'd like to dissent, please object now. All right, I'm going to do a poll now. Bradley, you are objecting, right? Okay, I'll do a poll. 1 moment.
Point of order.
Yeah.
Considering that you are the chair, you do have the authority to extend debate. And if for the counselors, well, if you feel that counselors do unanimously consent or at least have a majority, you can make that decision yourself. Putting it to a vote could just waste time.
I'm not going to do a roll call one. I'm just going to quickly put out a poll right now. It'll just take a couple moments. All right, cool. I think it's up there, so please just quickly vote in there. Yeah, if you guys are not counselors, please choose the third option here. All right, cool. Seeing a clear majority, we're going to, this motion passes. We're going to extend our meeting discussion time on this by 15 minutes. Sorry, I'm just trying to find who was next on here.
I believe it was me, Zaid, with a direct response.
Right, there we go. Okay, can go for it, Gabe.
Thank you. It was a direct response to Kyle. It was around accountability, the comments around accountability, because this conversation always seems to come back to accountability. And I want to say, yes, we should be we should want to have strong accountability mechanisms. I don't think it's necessarily wise practice to say we should just trust them at their word. No, there should be accountability mechanisms in place to ensure that this work is being done. And so let's talk about what's in place. In the new draft policies that are going to vote, are going to be put to a vote by the board on Friday, there is a standing order in place for a new committee to be put in place called the Council or the Oversight Committee on Executive Officers. And this committee has pretty sweeping powers in terms of executive officer accountability. They can reduce the stipend of an executive officer after an investigation that concludes that there was malpractice, misconduct, abdication of duty. And that is still subject to appeal to the wider council, but nonetheless, they have the power to do that. They also have the power to conduct investigations and recommend to council things like passing censure resolutions against an executive officer for really awful actions that they've taken, or just abdication of duties once again, or even to recommend the initiation of something as serious as impeachment proceedings. So that's a standing order that I've actually worked on alongside both your chair and vice chair, Zaid and Helen, and was able to integrate a lot of feedback that those two actually collected from the body of council. So I'd highly recommend taking a look at that. But not only that, there are other accountability mechanisms too, like requiring executive officers, requiring counselors, requiring everybody to give reports on work they're doing in council. And I think it becomes very clear when you require reporting of some kind, whether it be written or verbal, who is doing work and who is not doing work. So it's not just work reports and semester reports and exit reports we need to be looking at here. There are many points of accountability implemented into this system. And I'm going to be
Thank
honest.
you, Gabe. Going to be moving on here. Asab, you have the floor.
Thank you. And this is in response to, I think, some of the pieces around Alan's analysis and kind of just more of an overarching concern. The document that was put together, the points of concern, and was shared online, I think on a number of platforms like Facebook and an SFU undergrads page. And it stated that counselors, student union executives, and current board directors have compiled the following document outlining the concerns many of us have regarding the proposal. So my issue with this is that the board of directors never signed on to this document. And if there were individual directors that have, that's fine. However, that has to be noted that there are individual directors who are co-signing or speaking out, as each director has the ability to have their own vote and have their own voice. However, it's the same issue with counselors and student union executives when they're referenced as some. This is manufacturing consent of folks who have not necessarily consented to your analysis. So I would recommend, if it's possible, to share the folks who actually authored this document. Otherwise, I think it kind of unfortunately invalidates some points that you want to bring up, as it is a manufacturing of consent from folks who did not consent.
Thank you, Asab. SASA or SASS.
Hi, yes. So SAS came together and we did decide that regardless of our own personal opinions, a lot of us to begin with do support a living wage model, but we continue to see just some concerns that we have keep coming up. And because of that, we did collectively come together and decide to abstain from voting on the living wage model, but we did decide to vote for the points of concern. And we do understand that the timesheets and your work reports, they're not timesheets. We understand that concern, and we understand that a lot of us do believe that the board of directors is doing a great job. The main concern that we did have was that we don't think enough time has been put into doing student outreach on this and actually getting the opinions of the student body, because as much as we think that we support the living wage model, we're actually not sure that our constituents do. And we're not sure that if we vote for it, that we would be representing them to the best of our ability. And part of what came up regarding that was the survey, and the fact that the survey that went out to people didn't even mention the redistribution model at all. I do know that student outreach has occurred since March, but the problem with that student outreach was that it didn't mention the redistribution model at all. And I'm not sure if that came up in other places, but I don't understand how a survey would be able to capture the full extent. Yes, I am voted by our members, but we did come together as an exec team to decide on this regardless of our personal opinions. So I won't be voting based on my opinion. I'll be voting based on how my exec team came together and decided to vote on both of the motions.
All right, thank you. Alan, or no, Sarah, you have a direct response?
Yes. Okay, so accountability is something that is important. And I agree that we have to continue perfecting all or creating the methods we want to put in to create that accountability. But I personally and the execs of the World Literature Department also, or union, sorry, we all agree that it's more important to remunerate people appropriately because we do feel that they're putting the work in that needs to be done. And so we think that it's a good idea to pass or to support the remuneration proposal just because it's important to pay people accordingly. And in time, we will, perfect the methods of accountability. So it's a process and it takes time, and it is important to remunerate people by the work they're putting in at the moment. And if we see that in the future they're not putting the 60 hours in, then we can reduce it or we can alter it. But we feel that it's important that we do approve it at the moment so that we can support and keep supporting the good job they're doing. And just a comment, we felt that it was not completely correct to use the work reports for the graphs on the concerns report because we were told already multiple times that they were not accurate. And so putting them without a disclosure or any comment, we felt it's not the way to kind of put that information out.
All right, thank you. Alan, you have a direct response.
Yeah, about the thing about the people who helped me work on the document, out of respect for anonymity and fear of reprisals, I will not be naming anyone. And if you want, just go ahead and disregard that part completely. Forget about it. Any part of that can just be completely disregarded. I just want to press again, the claimed 60 hours, has been critical to the proposal. That's why we referred to the reports. That's why we used the reports to average, and and we're not the ones claiming that we're working 60 hours biweekly either. Council has had, I know council has had leniency, but this part is concerned with the board. That's all I want to bring up.
All right, thank you, Alan. Serena.
I just want to say that I think in terms of accountability, council has an oversight committee and we haven't been using it, so that's our fault. Also, I think we're coming up on the 15 minutes that we voted on. So I guess just to end off my statement, please, if you do support the living wage model, I'd suggest that you vote for it, as I will be voting against this motion and in support of the next one if we happen to get to it. So I would like to call the question so that we could have a vote on this motion.
All right, Serena has called the question here. I'm just going to seek unanimous consent then to end discussion and move to voting. Seek unanimous consent.
Point of order. This motion requires a seconder.
Oh, thank you. Would anyone like to second?
Gender studies second.
GSWS seconds. All right, once again, I'm going to seek unanimous consent on this. Seek unanimous consent. If you'd like to object to, I guess, moving into voting procedure, please object now. All right, seeing no objections, we are now going to move into voting. All right, since this is a contentious issue here, I'm going to conduct voting by roll call. So when I call on your constituency group or student union, please just quickly state whether you are voting in favor, against, or abstaining. Starting with, right, I'm going to reread the motion again since it has been quite a while with all this discussion here, just so everyone's clear on what we're voting. Oh boy, okay. Whereas the SFSS VP Finance presented to Council a stipend at its March 17th meeting, whereas councillors have released a document outlining concerns with the proposal titled SFSS Stipend Increase, Points of Concern, whereas the document provides the following recommendations. 1, that the board consider the stipend increases for executives and councillors in separate proposals and motions. 2, that the board consider the revised living wage model for executive stipends. 3, that council consider the living wage and redistribution models for council stipends. 4, that current directors who have been re-elected to the board immediately declare a conflict of interest and refrain from discussing or voting on the proposal. 5, that the board of directors commit to designing a robust accountability system for both councillors and executives. Be it resolved that council supports the recommendations detailed on pages 9 and 10 of the document SFSS Stipend Increase, Points of Concern. Oh man, my mouth is quite dry here. Okay, just again, I'm going to just quickly call. So we want to get through this quickly as we are coming to the end of our regular scheduled meeting time. Archaeology.
Archaeology is voting against.
Bachelor of Environment.
Bachelor of Environment abstains.
Behavioral Neuroscience.
Behavioral Neuroscience is voting against.
Biology is not present. BPK.
BPK votes in favor.
Chemistry.
Chemistry vote abstains.
Criminology.
Criminology votes against.
Data Science Student Union.
Data Science votes against.
Earth Science.
Earth Science votes against.
Economics.
Economics votes against.
Education.
Hi, Zaid. Education abstains. I just came back into the meeting, so I'm just getting caught up now. I came back at the worst time.
Oh. All right. English.
Sorry, English is against.
Environmental Science.
EBSCSU abstains.
French.
French votes against.
GSWS.
GSWS votes against.
History.
History votes in favor.
Interactive Arts.
Interactive Arts abstains.
International Studies.
International Studies votes against.
Mechatronics.
Mechatronics votes in favor.
MBBSU.
MBBSU votes in favor.
Operations Research.
OR votes against.
Philosophy. PSSU.
PSSU abstains.
Psychology.
Psychology votes against.
Society of Arts and Social Sciences.
SAS abstains.
Sociology and Anthropology.
Sociology votes in favor.
Software Systems. Sustainable Energy. Engineering Student Society. SEESS. World Literature.
World Literature is against.
Disability and Neurodiversity Alliance.
DNA is against.
Women's Center Collective.
Votes against.
All right, just a second. All right, this motion fails with 16 against, 11 or 10 abstentions, and 5 in favor. Okay, looks like we are at 6 o'clock here. So unless somebody wants to move to extend our meeting, everything will, I mean, sorry, unless somebody wants to vote to extend the meeting, we will be postponing motion 8.2 and the remaining discussion items to our next meeting, meeting, which is next week on the 28th. Alia, we can move to extend the meeting. However, if we fall below quorum, which is 26, I'm just gonna have to recount everyone because we lost a few people. If we fall below quorum, we won't be able to vote on any motions. So we will just be able to go through discussion. So that's something to consider.
Yeah, can we give that a try then? How do I motion? I motion to extend the meeting?
Yeah, I'd like to move to extend the meeting by, and then however long you'd like to extend it.
I think, are we going to have any discussion on the 8.2?
That's really up to you guys.
Okay. I'd like to vote to extend the meeting by 30 minutes.
All right, would anyone like to second?
DNA seconds.
DNA seconds. All right, going to seek unanimous consent for this one. Seeking unanimous consent to extend the meeting by 30 minutes. If you'd like to object, please unmute your, okay. Looks like we have some objections here. Going to do the poll again. Just a second. You guys can mute yourselves. All right. Sorry if it looks kind of weird there. I just trying to speedily type that out. Yeah, non-voting, please. Everyone here is not a voting member of council. That I'm going to give this 30 seconds. All right, this motion carries. All right, our new time is going to be 6:34 then. Or hopefully we'll be done by then. All right, since we moved to extend the meeting and it is carried, I showed everyone the results, right? Okay, we're going to move on to our next item, 8.2. The motion carries, whereas the motion reads, whereas the new governance model requires greater labor and quality of labor from council as the legal body of the SFSS, whereas all remuneration models do not require an increase to student fees, whereas VP finds Corbett Gildersleeve recommends the living wage model as it best reflects compensation commensurate with responsibility. Be it resolved that council supports the living wage model as the preferred SFSS council remuneration proposal. Would anyone like to move this motion?
Serena.
Serena moves. Can somebody second?
Sociology seconds.
Sociology seconds. All right. This motion is now, discussion is now open for everyone. Starting with Serena, you get the first shot.
So I just put this forward as obviously to support the living wage model. I think we've had adequate discussion given our opinions on this. I'll be voting in favor of this motion. Of course, I put it forward in favor of the living wage model. And if it's possible, I'd like to call the question just because I think we've exhausted discussion in our previous discussion.
Just one moment here. Just making sure that we have quorum actually, because we have had some people leave. I'm just going to quickly count and then we'll go forward. All right, Helen, while I'm doing this, the vote for sorry for calling the question. Can you please just double check? I do believe we have quorum. Just a couple people over though. So yeah. Okay. I'm going to seek unanimous consent on calling the question. Or we need somebody to second.
Gender
Almost forgot.
seconds.
GSWS seconds. All right, I'm going to seek unanimous consent on calling the question, which means moving into voting procedures. Seeking unanimous consent. If you'd like to dissent or object, please do so now. Okay, we're going to have to do another poll. Just going to give it a few more seconds. Please, everyone, vote in the poll. All right, seeing that there's a clear majority here, going to move to voting. So question has been called. We're going to end discussion and we're going to move directly into voting procedures. Oh boy, once again, since it is a contested issue here, we're going to do roll call voting. So, all right, starting with archaeology.
Archaeology is in favor.
Environment. Okay, I think they're behavioral neuroscience.
Behavioral neuroscience is in favor.
BPK.
BBK is in favor.
Chemistry.
Chemistry in favor.
Criminology.
Criminology is in favor.
Data science.
Data science is in favor.
Earth science.
Earth science is in favor.
Economics.
Economics is in favor.
Education. She was just here. English.
English is in favor.
Environmental science.
Environmental science is in favor.
French.
French is in favor.
PSWS.
Gender studies is in favor.
Just checking again to make sure that we've kept quorum because it seems like somebody's left. History.
History abstains.
Interactive arts.
Interactive arts is in favor.
International studies.
International studies is in favor.
Mechatronics. And BBSU.
BSU is against.
Operations research.
OR is in favor.
PSSU or philosophy. Tony. All right, PSSU.
PSSU abstains.
Psychology.
Psychology votes in favor.
Society of Arts and Social Sciences.
SAS abstains.
Sociology and Anthropology.
Sociology is in favor.
Software systems.
Software systems abstains.
Sustainable energy. World literature.
World Literature votes in favor.
Disability and Neurodiversity Alliance.
DNA votes in favor.
Women's Center Collective.
Women's Center votes in favor.
All right, just a second. Just a quick question. Also, chair counts towards quorum, right?
Yeah, you can vote.
Okay, cool. We are barely at quorum here right now with 26 plus 1. Was just making sure there. Just quickly gonna tally the votes. What was it?
If it helps, the president is also an ex officio member of council, but I just don't use my vote here.
It's looking like 20 in favor and 1 against. And how many abstains do we have here? My piece of paper is becoming a mess. 1. I think, yeah, and then 5 abstains. So 20 in favor, 1 against, 5 abstains. Okay. All right, so this motion clearly passes. That finishes it for item 8.2. We're moving on to our discussion items then. All right, item 9. Yes, Devin?
I was wondering if I could motion to end the meeting and move our discussion items till next week, just as this exam period. And I think everyone probably wants to get back to studying or whatever else they have to do. Apologies. I know that a lot of these discussion items have been pushed and pushed time again.
All right, would anyone like to second this motion?
French seconds.
French seconds. Don't believe there's going to be any discussion. I'm going to seek unanimous consent. Please don't make me do another poll. All right, seeking unanimous consent. If you'd like to dissent, please unmute your microphone now. All right, seeing no objections, everything is being postponed for discussion items to our next meeting. We are meeting next week on the 28th. Right, I gotta go to adjournment still. All right, 12.1 adjournment. Be it resolved to adjourn the meeting at 6:19 p.m. Would anyone like to second? Or would anyone? I'm going to motion for that. So would someone like to second?
Zaid,
Yeah.
the motion that was just passed was to end the meeting. Was
Was
it not?
it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm really tired right now. All right, so the meeting is over, but just again, another announcement for everyone. 28th, next week is our final council meeting. We will be having a presentation from what's his name again? Mark Roman, yes, SFU's head of IT. So do be prepared with some of your questions. We have our discussion items, and yeah, it's the last meeting of this term. So good luck with the rest of your finals, and I'll see you guys next Wednesday.